Pocket Bravery is designed with high-level players in mind, while making it easily accessible for beginners to pick up and play. So claims the Steam page of this new indie fighter from a small Brazilian development team. Many games in the genre would like to make the same claim, that they provide a deep and competitive experience for advanced players while offering new players a way to have fun while learning what it takes to reach that competitive point. I can't speak for the fighting game veterans. If you are more experienced, let me know what you think of the game in the comments. But as a noob myself, I was excited to test Pocket Bravery's claims of beginner accessibility. I headed for the tutorial, and the developers' ambitions were immediately apparent. The tutorial has 3 parts: a basic section, a gauge section delving into the unique mechanics of this game, and technical terms, a section on fighting game concepts. This third section is where the magic happens and demonstrates the developer's desire to be the Charon guiding you down the river Styx towards the fighting game community. It introduces the player to some core concepts that are common to many games in the genre. Pocket Bravery is inspired by 90s fighting games like Street Fighter and King of Fighters, series which were hugely influential on the genre and which themselves are still going strong today. So if Pocket Bravery successfully embeds these ideas into your mind, you will be able to recognize them in all sorts of other games from across the genre's past and present, and doubtless future. What's more, it demonstrates how and why you might use the mechanics from the prior sections of the tutorial and how they can combine to more powerful effect. Where the earlier tutorial gives you the pieces, this part helps you put them together so you start to see the picture on the puzzle. Already, these features make the tutorial of this game better than that of many other fighting games, including some AAA ones. Could it be improved? Of course. For example, you can choose between the 3 parts of the tutorial, but you can't skip around between the different bits of those parts. For example, if you just wanted to replay the part of the technical terms tutorial that covers footsies, you would have to replay through the bits on combos and counters to get to it. This is a bit of a shame as the tutorial works well as a reference, so being able to drop back in and replay specific bits would make it more useful beyond your first run through. You don't want to have to read from Aardvark to Backrest to look up ballyhoo in the dictionary. Playing through a tutorial won't teach you to play the game, it shows you what a character is capable of and what buttons to press. But knowing how the pieces on a chessboard move doesn't mean you're going to win against the 9-year-old who goes to her school's chess club. The developers seem to understand this, and the tutorial is far from the only tool they have given players to learn with. The story mode does a lot of great things for the fighting game beginner. It introduces the controls and mechanics gradually through the first parts of the story in ways that fit into the plot. It also lets you practice these in more creative ways than hitting a training dummy, such as kicking away barrels that are being thrown at you. The player learns what they can do alongside the main character Nuno, who is in the process of discovering his own powers. This is a lot more engaging than just following a normal tutorial. While the story does aim to teach beginners, it doesn't go easy on us. After cruising fairly comfortably through the early story, I got really stuck on a duel fight. You take part in 2 fights alternately. It took me dozens of attempts, and that wasn't the only time I got stuck on a part of the story. I'm not necessarily opposed to a steep learning curve, but at first I found this difficulty spike discouraging. On reflection though, I don't have a problem with it. Giving the player the choice to skip fights they are stuck on or dial down the difficulty would not be a bad thing to do. It would mean players who aren't bothered about learning how to play the game well would still get to experience the story. But on the other hand, forcing me to persevere made it that much more satisfying when I did overcome those parts of the story. Playing fighting games online also requires perseverance and patience, and taking the time to think about why you keep losing and what you could do differently. Maybe this is another lesson that the story mode can teach newcomers. And even if you have no interest in ever playing against another human being, difficult parts of the story arguably add to the duration of the single player experience, if nothing else. Of course, there is always more that both the tutorial and the story could do to support the struggling beginner. For example, in the story I found the timing quite difficult for the quick get up and failed several times before passing the challenge, mostly by mashing. Since this part of the story is clearly aimed at teaching the player something, it would make sense to have something on the screen that indicated the requisite timing. One way to do this could be to have a demonstration where the player can see what a successful attempt looks like, with, for example, a controller on screen showing the buttons being pressed at the right time. Likewise, after losing in the difficult fights a couple of times, a mentor character's voice could pop up on screen giving the player some hints. Ming Mei is a zoner, a character with projectiles good for keeping other characters at a distance. She is up against a grappler, a character who loves to get in close and throw you about. A little box popping up saying try to use your projectiles to keep Arshavin out of throwing range could go a long way to help a beginner learn how to get over this difficulty bump in a way that will teach them things that will help for the rest of the game and even the rest of the genre. Another small pain point in the story was having to press through the sometimes long pre-fight dialogue and sometimes a training section every time I had to retry a fight. Sometimes this was useful as it made me replay a bit that taught me something, and having to play it over and over to get back to the fight helped embed it in my muscle memory. But at least having the option of skipping straight to the start of the fight would make these difficult sections a lot less frustrating. If you are a single player warrior, there is actually a ton of other content for you in this game too, and unlike the story mode, much of the other single player content has adjustable difficulty settings, so anyone can choose to challenge themselves or give themselves a leg up. Doing pretty much anything in the game earns you points, which you can spend in the in-game shop to unlock unique character colours, player titles to use online, and more, so that will keep you busy for a while if you're into that kind of thing. There's an arcade mode which contains even more story in its unique endings for each character. There's a survival mode that challenges you to take on several opponents in succession, similar to arcade, but with the opponents getting progressively more difficult and your health bar doesn't replenish between fights. Time trials challenges the player to win as quickly as possible to maximize their score. There are also combo trials which are fun and challenging in their own right, as well as being useful to help learn combos for the different characters and infer what moves can cancel into others. There's even a combo factory for you to experiment with building your own combo trials. I found out just how relevant these combos are when I ventured online. While the game currently has quite a small active player base, I was able to find an opponent quite easily on Discord who very patiently played several matches against me despite absolutely destroying me almost every time. Welcome to the real world! I found myself losing a lot of health to long combos, and when I did manage to get a hit in, I didn't know how to follow them up effectively. There were definitely some rounds I lost but were close, and that I could have won if I had been able to get a couple of extra hits into a combo or two. Pleasantly, the game uses smooth rollback netcode, meaning you can have enjoyable matches against players hundreds or thousands of miles away without it becoming a horrible laggy mess, something that many mainstream fighting games still haven't overcome. Pocket Bravery is due to come out on all the current gen consoles later this year, but is only on PC right now. Personally, I played it with a PlayStation controller, which I found a lot more comfortable than trying to use my cramped laptop keyboard. I think for the keyboard inclined though, that method of input can be very precise and great to play. For those who struggle with motion inputs, the game offers a simplified input mode that allows you to hit your special moves by holding a special move button and hitting one of the normal attack buttons. On pad, by default, the special move buttons are the shoulder buttons. This is a great option for those who prefer not to struggle against the classic controls. In the long term, it is worth learning the classic controls as this gives you more options. For example, many special moves have two versions, maybe one using light punch and a modified version using heavy punch, but only one will be possible with the simplified controls. Ultimately, it's fantastic that the developers have given us the option of both styles of controls. Great learning tools, fun single player modes, smooth online and flexible controls are fantastic. But if the game and characters aren't cool, then who cares? This is of course subjective, but I think the pixel art in the game is absolutely gorgeous. The stages look awesome and there is lots of wicked animation, and the characters feel unique and full of personality. I'm sure you'll find one you like. Personally, I love Ximena. Just look at how cool her move animations are. And in another nod to the beginner, each character has a difficulty rating, so you have a chance to avoid the more complex characters if you prefer when starting out. It's quite amazing that such a small indie development team has squeezed so much into this game. It's fun online and there's loads to learn and have fun with offline too. There is a real thoughtfulness on display from the devs. This continues after release, with frequent updates since launch smoothing out any rough edges and a welcoming community feel on the company's official Statera Studio Discord server. I hope the player base will continue to grow and that this game will get the attention it deserves. I got it for only around £15 full price, an absolute bargain in terms of the amount of fun that is to be had here. It has a free demo on Steam as well, so if you're on the fence, give that a try before you buy. Play what looks cool to you. Play what your friends want to play. And if you want to play a forward-looking, retro-styled indie fighter, play Pocket Bravery. I want to try all kinds of fighting games, from indies to new AAA releases and classics of the genre, to see how the experience is from a beginner's perspective, which I will share with you on this channel. My next video will be on Mortal Kombat 1, so definitely subscribe if you want to see that, and let me know in the comments what other games you would like to see me take a swing at in the future.